The human entered the contest of champions and surprised the alien warrior. The arena of Varkesh was older than most civilizations. It floated above a red desert world, held in place by ancient alien machines that no one fully understood anymore. Every cycle, warriors from across the stars came here to fight in the contest of champions. This was not just a tournament. It was a tradition, a test of strength, pride, and survival. The crowd filled the massive stands. Millions of voices blended into a low thunder. Different species sat together, some with scales, some with fur, some with skin that shimmered like metal. Banners of many worlds floated in the air, glowing with colors unknown to humans. At the center of the arena stood the council platform. The elders of the Galactic Alliance watched everything from there. Their faces showed boredom, excitement, or cold judgment. They had seen thousands of fighters over the ages. Very few surprised them anymore. Names of champions echoed across the arena as contestants were announced. Each warrior stepped forward to cheers, roars, or ritual cries. Heavy armored giants raised their weapons. Swift hunters bowed with sharp smiles. Energy crackled in the air with confidence and threat. Then a pause came. The announcer hesitated, checking the glowing slate in his hands. His voice changed, uncertain. Next contestant, species classification, human, name Jack Miller. For a moment there was silence. Then laughter spread like fire. Some aliens leaned forward, confused. Others openly mocked. Humans were known in the wider galaxy, but not as fighters. They were traders, explorers, builders, clever, yes, brave sometimes. But champions, warriors, that was a joke to most of the crowd. A human, one armored alien scoffed. Did he get lost on the way to a market station? Maybe he thinks this is a debate contest, another said, drawing more laughter. From one of the highest tiers, an alien warrior named Cora watched with narrowed eyes. She was tall even among her kind, her armor marked with scars and symbols of past victories. She had won the contest twice before. Strength was her language. Fear was something she had never known. "This is an insult," she muttered, sending prey into a hunter's trial. The gates at the edge of the arena opened. Jack Miller walked out alone. He wore no heavy armor, no glowing weapons, just simple combat clothing, dark and worn. His boots were old but clean. His hands were bare. His brown hair was cut short, practical. His face showed no fear but no pride either. He stopped at the center mark and looked around. The noise washed over him. Laughter, insults, strange sounds from alien throats. Jack did not react. He breathed slowly and took it all in. The size of the arena. The distance to the walls. The positions of the exits, habits learned from years of survival training stayed with him. On the council platform, an elder leaned toward another. "Why is the human here?" the elder asked. "Their species has never entered the contest before." "The Human Alliance requested it," the other replied. "They said it was time." "Time for what?" the elder shrugged. They did not explain. Down below, Jack felt the weight of countless eyes. He remembered the long journey that brought him here, the meetings, the warnings. The quiet looks from other humans who thought this was madness. Only one memory stayed strongest, his commander's words before he left Earth. "You are not there to prove humans are the strongest," the commander had said. "You are there to prove we endure." Jack clenched his fists slightly, then relaxed them. A horn sounded. The first phase of the contest was about to begin. But before the fights, tradition demanded that champions could address the arena. Cora stepped forward without waiting to be invited. The crowd cheered her name. She raised one armored hand and silence followed. "I am Cora of the Iron Moons," she said, her voice strong and clear. "I have faced beasts that tear steel and warriors who breathe fire. I have broken them all." She turned her gaze toward Jack. "Human," she continued, her tone sharp, "you do not belong here. This arena is not for soft beings who hide behind walls and words. Leave now before you shame yourself and your kind." More laughter followed. Some aliens banged their weapons against the floor in approval. Jack looked at her, really looked. He saw her strength, yes, but also her certainty. She had never doubted herself. Jack knew that kind of confidence. He had seen it break before. He did not raise his voice. He did not insult her back. "I am here because my people asked me to come," Jack said simply. His voice carried farther than he expected. The arena quieted, curious now. "If I fail, that is on me, not on them," Cora sneered. "Brave words from weak bones." "Maybe," Jack said. "We will see." The council allowed the exchange to end. The announcer cleared his throat, clearly nervous. "The contest of champions begins," he declared. "All fighters prepare." Jack was guided to a waiting area beneath the arena floor. The walls were smooth metal, marked with old symbols. Other fighters stood nearby, stretching, sharpening blades, checking weapons. Many glanced at Jack with open amusement. One massive alien leaned close, towering over him. "Do you feel fear, human?" the alien asked, breathing hot air. Jack met his eyes. "Every day," he replied. "It helps me stay alive." The alien blinked, confused, then laughed and turned away. Jack sat on a low bench and closed his eyes for a moment. He slowed his breathing. He thought of Earth, of open skies, of rain and dirt and long nights standing watch. He thought of how humans had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, not because they were strongest, but because they adapted. A soft voice interrupted his thoughts. "You are hurt already." Jack opened his eyes. A slim alien medic stood before him. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes large and gentle. A medical badge glowed on her chest. "No," Jack said. "Just tired." She studied him. "Your heart rate is high but steady. Most first-time fighters tremble, you do not." "I trained for this," Jack said. "Training is not experience," she replied. "Many die here." "I know," she hesitated. "Why come then?" Jack thought for a moment. "Because someone had to be first." The medic nodded slowly, as if understanding something deeper. "My name is Lily," she said. "I will be nearby. If you fall, I will do what I can." "Thank you," Jack said. A deep rumble shook the walls. The first match was being prepared. Jack's name appeared on a small glowing panel beside him. His opponent would be announced soon. Above, the crowd waited eagerly. Most expected entertainment, nothing more. A quick defeat, a lesson for foolish humans. Cora watched from her seat, arms crossed. She told herself she did not care, yet her eyes stayed on the gate marked with the human symbol. "It will be quick," she said to herself. "And then this joke will be over." Below the arena, Jack stood and rolled his shoulders. Pain from old injuries whispered through his body. He welcomed it. Pain meant he was alive. Pain meant he could still fight. A guard signaled him forward. The gate began to open. Bright light poured in, along with the roar of the crowd. Jack took one last breath and stepped toward the arena floor. The contest of champions had begun, and no one yet understood that something old was about to change. The first opponent emerged through the gate with a thunderous roar. He was enormous, a reptilian warrior named Gorthak from the Draconis system. His scales shimmered green in the arena lights, and his claws could crush stone. The crowd erupted with excitement. They expected the human to be crushed within moments. Jack stepped forward calmly. He felt the heat of the lights and the eyes of millions upon him. He did not raise his hands or shout. He simply watched Gorthak move. The reptilian swung his claw in a powerful arc. The air hissed as it passed. Jack moved quickly, not with brute force but with careful timing. He ducked low, barely avoiding the strike, and rolled to the side. Gorthak growled, snapping his jaw. He lunged again, faster this time. The crowd cheered, believing the human's end was near. Jack waited, watching for a pattern. Gorthak swung left, then right, then jumped high with a tail strike. Jack used the momentum to shift behind him, landing a small but precise strike on the back of the reptile's knee. The audience gasped. A human had touched the champion without being crushed. Gorthak roared in pain, staggering slightly. Jack stayed calm. He had learned that in battle, even a small advantage could change everything. The reptile attacked again, Wilder now, frustrated and angry. Jack dodged, sidestepped, and even used Gorthak's own tail to throw him slightly off balance. The crowd murmured in surprise. They had never seen a human move like this. Cora, watching from above, frowned. She had expected to see a quick, messy fight. Instead, she saw the human studying his opponent, using technique instead of power. She felt the first twinge of doubt. Jack did not strike recklessly. He allowed Gorthak to expend energy to tire himself with wild swings. After several long minutes, the reptile stumbled, exhausted. Jack saw his chance. He moved fast, gripping Gorthak's leg and using leverage to topple him completely. The thud echoed through the arena. Silence fell, then slowly the crowd erupted into a mixture of cheers and disbelief. The human had won. The first fight. The first shock. Gorthak lay panting on the ground, angry and humiliated. He glared at Jack with his golden eyes. "This is not over, human," he hissed. Jack did not reply. He simply stood straight, breathing calmly. The medic, Lily, nodded in approval from the sidelines. She knew the human had survived, but she also knew the fight had only just begun. Next, Jack was led back to the preparation area. He felt the soreness in his muscles, the small cuts and bruises. Nothing serious, nothing that would stop him. He washed the blood off with a small water pouch, thinking quietly. Humans had always survived by understanding their limits, by using intelligence and timing. He had done that today. It had worked. While he rested, another fighter approached him. She was from the Velar species, a fast, bird-like alien with sharp talons and wings that could extend nearly 10 feet. She looked at him curiously. "You are not afraid?" she asked, her voice soft but firm. Jack shook his head. "Fear is natural, but it is not enough to stop me." She studied him, then nodded slowly. "Humans are strange," she said. "Small, weak-looking, but dangerous in ways no one predicts." Jack smiled faintly. "We survive by noticing things others miss." The next match was announced quickly. Jack's opponent was a mechanical fighter from the planet Zinter, controlled by advanced AI. It moved with precision, striking fast and unpredictably. Most of the crowd expected it to crush Jack easily. Jack stepped into the arena. The machine's limbs whirred, energy weapons charging along its arms. The ground beneath him shook as it moved. Jack did not hesitate. He observed, waited, and used every instinct he had trained for years to anticipate movement. The machine struck first, sending a blast of energy toward Jack. He rolled sideways, letting the ground protect him. The blast scorched the sand where he had stood seconds before. He noticed that the machine had a pattern in its movement. Each strike left it slightly off balance afterward. He used that to his advantage. Dodging, weaving, and countering carefully, he struck at weak points on its joints. Sparks flew, and the machine stumbled. The audience was silent at first, then began to murmur. The human was still alive. Not only that, he was making the machine falter. As the fight continued, Jack adapted further. He did not attack recklessly, but used the arena itself. He ducked behind pillars, made the machine hit the walls, and used the debris against it. Eventually, with one clever move, he tripped the machine and disabled its arm. It could no longer strike properly. Jack stepped back and raised his hand slightly, signaling that he would end the fight without killing the opponent. The crowd cheered wildly. He had survived another match, and this time with skill that even the best warriors could respect. Cora's expression darkened as she watched. She had been undefeated for cycles, and now a human had not only survived but had impressed a crowd full of alien fighters. Doubt crept into her mind, though she refused to show it. Between matches, Jack rested. His wounds were minor, but the energy he had used to anticipate and move fast made his body ache. Lily approached, offering basic treatment. She checked his bruises and gave him a small energy drink from her pack. "You fight differently than others," she said quietly. "They try to dominate, you survive," Jack nodded. Survival is the strongest skill, she smiled. Perhaps humans are stronger than anyone thought. Jack only shrugged. He did not think about strength in that way. To him, strength was living through hardships and learning from every experience. Today had shown that to many, but the contest was far from over. The next round was announced. This time, he would face a seasoned alien fighter known for both speed and cunning. Jack entered the arena, feeling his heart steady despite the growing size of the challenge. He knew he would need to use not just his body but his mind. The alien warrior, a silver-skinned female named Vilo, circled him. Her wings flared, making her look larger and faster. She smirked, confident she would end this human's run. "You do not belong here," she hissed. "Humans are weak and you will prove it." Jack said nothing. He studied her, watching every subtle movement. The crowd quieted as the fight began. Jack dodged her initial strikes, rolling under her talons and moving in ways the aliens did not expect. When she tried to use her wings to push him back, he used the wind to adjust his stance, maintaining balance. Minutes passed. The audience could hardly follow his movements. Jack moved like a shadow, striking only when necessary. He waited for openings, letting Vilo tire herself with fast, flashy attacks. Finally, after a long exchange, Jack saw a chance. He grabbed her wrist mid-strike and used her momentum to send her crashing into the arena wall. She fell to the ground, gasping. The crowd erupted, not in laughter this time, but in astonishment. Jack stepped back, allowing her to rise. He did not attack again. He had won the round, but he showed mercy, something rare in the contest of champions. Cora watched silently from above. She clenched her fists, feeling a mix of anger and admiration. This human was not strong like her, but he fought in a way she had never seen. He survived by thinking, by moving, and by refusing to give up. Jack returned to the preparation area. He was bruised and tired, but a quiet confidence filled him. He had faced 3 opponents and survived them all. More importantly, he had begun to earn respect in a place where humans had been dismissed as weak. Lily checked his wounds again, her eyes reflecting curiosity and admiration. "You do not fight like any human I have read about," she said. "Perhaps," Jack replied. "We fight to live, not just to win." The arena lights dimmed slightly as the next matches were prepared. Jack sat stretching carefully. He felt the weight of what was coming. The next opponents would be tougher, stronger, faster. Above, Cora tightened her armor. She whispered to herself, "I will see how far you can go, human, and I will be ready." Jack did not hear her. He focused on what mattered, staying alive, learning from each move, and surviving. That was the human way, and it had worked again. The contest of champions was far from over. But for the first time, the aliens watching realized that a human might not only survive but could change the way they thought about strength forever the next day. The arena buzzed with anticipation. Word had spread fast. The human had survived 3 rounds. Whispers traveled through the crowd like wildfire. Some aliens shook their heads in disbelief. Others looked curious, trying to understand this strange species that seemed so fragile yet so resilient. Jack sat quietly in the preparation area. His body ached from yesterday's fights, but his mind was alert. He studied every mark on the walls, every crack in the floor. He remembered how Gorthak had moved, how the machine had shifted, and how Vilo had used her wings. Every observation mattered. Every detail could be used in the next fight. Lily approached him with a small tray of food. "You need to eat something," she said softly. Her eyes betrayed both concern and fascination. "Your energy levels are dropping. You cannot fight effectively if you collapse from hunger." Jack took a piece of fruit. It was soft and sweet, alien in flavor but familiar in texture. He ate slowly. "Thank you," he said. "Humans survive on small things sometimes. It is enough." She studied him for a moment. "You are different from other humans," she said. "You fight to survive, not to impress. Most would run or hide. Most humans do not travel to floating arenas in alien systems." Jack replied with a faint smile. The arena gates opened, and the announcer called the next match. This time, Jack would face a fighter known for intelligence and strategy. The opponent, named Vera, came from the telekinetic planet of Calathar. She was slender, her blue-green skin glimmering and her eyes bright with cunning. As she stepped into the arena, she raised her hand slightly, sensing Jack's energy. The crowd hushed, eager to see what this new round would bring. Vera circled him slowly, testing his reactions. Jack stayed still, watching. He did not move first. He had learned that patience could win battles faster than aggression. Vera lunged suddenly, sending a wave of telekinetic force toward him. The ground under his feet shook. Jack rolled forward, using momentum to absorb the impact. He got up, keeping his balance, and adjusted his stance. He noticed that Vera repeated the same sequence, moving left, then right, then launching another wave. The pattern was subtle, but he saw it. He waited. Then he acted. As Vera lunged with her third attack, Jack stepped to the side and grabbed a loose rock from the arena floor. He threw it carefully, not at her, but to disrupt her rhythm. She stumbled, caught off guard. The crowd gasped. A human had predicted telekinesis and countered it with a simple rock. Jack did not strike immediately. He waited, breathing calmly. Vera regained her balance and attacked again, faster this time. Jack dodged, rolled, and adjusted his timing. He realized that Vera relied on predicting movement patterns, but humans are unpredictable. He did not act the same way twice. Each motion was slightly different, forcing her to miscalculate repeatedly. Minutes passed. The battle turned into a test of endurance and strategy. Vera grew frustrated, her attacks less precise. Jack stayed steady, adapting constantly, never striking without purpose. Finally, he saw an opening. Vera lunged with too much force, exposing herself. Jack used her momentum to push her slightly off balance and trip her over a small ridge in the arena. She fell hard, panting. Jack did not celebrate. He stepped back and raised his hand slightly, signaling the end of the fight. The crowd erupted, cheering wildly. Humans had survived another round, and this time against strategy itself. Cora's eyes narrowed. She had expected to see the human fail sooner or later. Yet here he was, moving, surviving, adapting. She felt a twinge of respect, but also a deeper worry. If this human reached the later stages, what would that mean for her legacy? After the fight, Jack returned to the preparation area. His muscles ached, but his mind was alert. He allowed Lily to check his bruises and minor cuts. She marveled at his endurance. "You fight smarter than most warriors," she said. "Not just human or alien, smarter than anyone here." Jack shook his head. "I do not fight to be smarter. I fight to survive. The rest comes naturally." Lily nodded. Then perhaps humans were underestimated for too long. Jack sat quietly, reflecting on the last 3 fights. Each opponent had been stronger, faster, or more dangerous in some way. Yet he had survived. Not by overpowering, but by observing, adapting, and enduring. That was the human way. That was how his species had survived on harsh worlds, through famine, wars, and natural disasters. Survival through understanding, patience, and endurance. The next round was announced. Jack would face a warrior larger than Gorthak, faster than Velo, and cunning like Vera. His opponent was called Drakkar, a massive alien known for his raw power and unyielding aggression. Jack stepped into the arena as the crowd roared. Drakkar's presence alone caused the sand to tremble. His claws were long and sharp, his muscles bulging under golden scales. His eyes glowed red with excitement. He had never faced a human before, and he intended to make a spectacle of it. Drakkar charged immediately, swinging his massive claws with terrifying speed. Jack ducked, rolled, and stayed just out of reach. He noticed Drakkar's pattern. Each swing left him slightly off balance. Jack also noticed that Drakkar's energy was uneven. His strength was massive, but it could not be sustained for long. Jack moved carefully, letting Drakkar tire himself with wild attacks. He dodged each blow, staying calm and observant. The crowd could hardly believe their eyes. A human was not only surviving against overwhelming force, but forcing the giant to make mistakes. Minutes passed, and Drakkar grew frustrated. He swung faster, trying to overpower Jack. Jack anticipated, sidestepped, and used Drakkar's momentum to push him toward the arena wall. Drakkar slammed into it, causing the ground to shake. Finally, Jack saw his chance. He did not attack directly. Instead, he grabbed a heavy piece of debris and used it to unbalance Drakkar further. The alien stumbled and fell hard, the impact echoing through the arena. Silence filled the stands for a moment. Then slowly, the crowd began to cheer. They had not expected a human to survive such a fight, let alone best a warrior like Drakkar. Jack stood, breathing calmly, his body exhausted but intact. Cora watched from above, her pride clashing with her growing respect. She had underestimated humans. This one human, small and unarmored, had endured what giants could not. He did not rely on raw power, weapons, or magic. He relied on observation, patience, and persistence. Jack returned to the preparation area. He allowed Lily to treat minor injuries. She looked at him, eyes wide. "You are extraordinary," she said softly. "I am just a human," Jack replied. "But humans endure, that is our strength." As he rested, Jack thought about the next challenge. He knew it would be harder. The later rounds would bring the best warriors from across the galaxy. He would face speed, strength, cunning, and unpredictability all at once. Yet he felt no fear. He had survived this far because he relied on what humans had always relied on: observation, adaptation, and the will to keep moving no matter the odds. The arena lights dimmed, signaling the end of the day's matches. Jack sat quietly, thinking of the future rounds. The contest of champions was far from over, but he had already begun to change the perception of humans. He had shown that humans were not weak, not simple, and not easy to dismiss. Above, Cora clenched her fists. She whispered to herself, "This human, he fights like no one I have ever seen. I will prepare, and I will see if he can truly survive the next round." Jack, meanwhile, closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the ache in his body. He thought of Earth, of his friends, and of the countless humans who had survived impossible odds. He allowed himself a small smile. He had survived, yes, but the real fight, against the strongest, the fastest, the cunning, was still ahead. He opened his eyes and stood. Tomorrow he would face new challenges. Tomorrow he would continue to show that humans endure. And tomorrow he would continue to surprise the galaxy. The arena was alive with anticipation. The final rounds of the contest of champions had begun. The crowd buzzed like electricity. Whispers of the humans' victories had spread across the stands. Most aliens could not believe it. A human had survived so far, facing warriors of unmatched strength, cunning, and speed. And now, the most anticipated fight was about to begin. Jack Miller walked toward the center of the arena. His body ached from the previous matches, but his mind was clear. He did not rush. He did not panic. He moved with the calm precision that had carried him through the contest. Above, Cora observed. The champion of 2 cycles, undefeated until now, had never felt uncertainty in the arena. But the human had changed that. She clenched her fists, her jaw tight. Pride and determination burned in her eyes. "This ends today," she whispered. "I will show the galaxy what true strength is." Jack stepped into the center mark. The crowd roared, a mixture of cheers and disbelief. He looked up briefly, seeing millions of eyes focused on him. He took a deep breath, centering himself. He remembered every lesson from the previous rounds: observation, patience, adaptation. He would need all of it for this fight. Cora entered the arena. She moved with grace and power, every step confident. Her armor shone in the arena lights, her weapons at the ready. She did not speak. Words were unnecessary. Her presence alone commanded attention. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. "Final match. Human Jack Miller versus Cora of the Iron Moons. The crowd erupted. This was the moment everyone had waited for. Warriors who had mocked the human before now watched closely, unsure of what to expect. The fight began. Cora moved first, striking with speed and precision. Her weapons flashed in the light, aiming for critical points. Jack dodged, rolled, and sidestepped. He did not attack yet. He observed. He watched her rhythm, her timing, the small tells in her movements. The first exchange ended with both standing, breathing heavily. Cora's strikes had been powerful, but Jack had endured. He had learned that she relied on speed and anticipation. She had yet to expect the unexpected. Cora lunged again, faster this time. Jack used the momentum of her attack, letting it carry him slightly forward. He struck with a small, precise blow to her side, not enough to wound, but enough to disrupt her balance. The crowd gasped. The human had hit the undefeated champion. Cora's eyes narrowed. She did not like being tested. Most opponents crumbled under her speed, her strength. Not this human. He moved differently, unpredictably. She adjusted quickly, her strikes becoming more varied, more dangerous. Jack dodged, weaving between blows. He did not attack blindly. He used feints, misdirection, and his knowledge of human endurance. Every time Cora overextended, he shifted just enough to stay safe. Every time she attacked with speed, he waited for the pause, the moment before she struck, to move. Minutes passed. The crowd was silent, hanging on every movement. The fight was unlike any they had seen. Not just strength, but strategy, patience, and adaptability. The human endured, not because he was stronger, but because he understood survival better than most. Cora roared in frustration. She struck harder, faster, trying to overpower him. Jack dodged, his body moving as if by instinct. Pain throbbed in his muscles, but he ignored it. He remembered Earth. He remembered humans facing impossible odds and surviving. He would survive here too. He saw an opening. Cora had lunged aggressively, leaving herself vulnerable. Jack acted. He sidestepped, grabbed her wrist mid-strike, and used her momentum to push her slightly off balance. She staggered but quickly recovered. The crowd erupted, some cheering, some gasping in disbelief. The human had stood against Cora, the undefeated champion, and had survived her strongest attack. Cora's eyes flashed with a mix of anger and admiration. She had never faced an opponent like this. One who endured, adapted, and moved with such precision without relying solely on raw strength. She felt something unfamiliar, respect, but she refused to yield. Jack did not attack again immediately. He stayed calm, observing, waiting for the next opportunity. He knew she was dangerous, fast, and unpredictable. One mistake could end the fight. He could not afford mistakes. Cora circled him, her movements calculated. "You are strong for a human," she said, her voice steady but edged with tension. "But this ends now." Jack nodded slightly, acknowledging her words. "Strength is not only about power," he said simply. "It is about surviving." They clashed again, faster, more intense. Cora's strikes were like lightning, each one precise, designed to end the fight quickly. Jack dodged, rolled, and used her own force against her. The crowd could hardly follow the speed of their movements. As the fight continued, Cora realized that Jack was not fighting for glory, not for pride. He fought for survival, for proof that humans could endure and adapt against impossible odds. That realization shifted something inside her. She saw not an enemy, but a warrior who fought differently than anyone she had ever known. Jack's body ached. Sweat ran down his face. Bruises and cuts marked him, but he did not stop. Every movement, every dodge, every slight strike was calculated. Endurance, observation, patience, this was his strength. Finally, the moment came. Cora overextended, swinging with all her power, aiming to finish him. Jack sidestepped and shifted her momentum, causing her to stumble slightly. He raised his hand slightly, signaling his respect. He had endured. Cora paused, steadying herself. She looked at him, breathing heavily. The arena was silent. Every eye watched. She understood what had happened. The human had survived, had endured, had not been defeated by raw power. He had proved himself. Slowly, Cora lowered her weapons. She stepped back and bowed slightly. "You have endured," she said, her voice clear for all to hear. "You have survived what most would not. I yield, not because I am weak, but because I recognize your strength." The crowd exploded. Cheers, applause, and shouts filled the arena. Humans and aliens alike were astonished. The undefeated champion had yielded to a human. A small, unarmored human had changed the outcome of the contest of champions. Jack nodded respectfully. "Thank you," he said. "I only did what I must do." Cora straightened, her pride still intact but tempered by respect. She extended a hand. "Warriors endure," she said. "You have shown what it means to survive. Today, humans are seen as equals in this arena." Jack shook her hand firmly. He felt her strength, her power, her determination. Yet he also sensed her respect, and it meant more than victory. The contest of champions was not only about winning, it was about honor, endurance, and recognition. Lily moved forward, checking Jack's wounds quickly. "You did it," she said softly. "You survived the champion. The crowd will remember this." Jack nodded. "Surviving is only part of it. Understanding is the rest. Today they understand." The council elders on their platform leaned forward, murmuring among themselves. Many were surprised. A human had not only survived but had changed perceptions across species. The contest of champions had never seen this before. Cora walked beside Jack as they left the arena. The crowd continued cheering, recognizing the human's endurance, patience, and courage. She looked at him, a faint smile appearing despite the exhaustion. "Humans fight differently," she said quietly. "Not with raw strength, not with pride, but with persistence. Endurance is your weapon." Jack smiled faintly. "We survive, that is all." As they reached the preparation area, Jack felt a quiet satisfaction. The hardest part of the contest was over. He had faced raw power, cunning, and speed, and survived them all. He had earned respect, not just from the crowd, but from the champion herself. The arena lights dimmed, signaling the end of the day's final fight. Jack sat quietly, reflecting. He had endured, adapted, and survived. He had proved that humans were more than weak bones and soft flesh. They had the strength to endure, to survive, and to surprise even the strongest warriors in the galaxy. Above, Cora looked down at the arena, her mind replaying every move. She whispered to herself, "The human, he fights like no one I have ever seen. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated humans for too long." Jack closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the ache in his body. Tomorrow he would rest. Tomorrow he would leave the arena not only as a survivor but as a symbol. Humans endure, adapt, and are never to be underestimated. The contest of champions had shown the galaxy something new. A human could not only survive, but could redefine what strength truly meant. And the universe would never see humans the same way again. The arena was quiet in the early hours of the final day. Jack Miller sat alone, stretching carefully, his body tired but his mind sharp. He had survived every round of the contest of champions. He had faced speed, strength, cunning, and power and endured. Now the final challenge awaited, the ultimate test, a match that would decide not only the champion but the reputation of humans in the galaxy. The crowd gathered as the sun-like lights in the arena turned a soft gold. Millions of eyes were on him. Whispers traveled fast. Humans had never come this far. Some aliens shook their heads, unwilling to believe. Others leaned forward, eager to see if the human could truly finish what he had begun. Cora stood on the platform, her armor gleaming. She had faced Jack before in the penultimate fight and had yielded. Her pride remained, but respect had grown. She was ready to face him again if the rules allowed a final contest. The elders had approved it. The match would be a display of skill, endurance, and spirit. Jack rose slowly. He felt the aches in his muscles, the bruises and cuts from previous fights. They throbbed, but he ignored them. He had survived this far by focusing, by observing, by enduring. Today, he would do the same. The announcer's voice rang out. Final match. The human, Jack Miller, will face a coalition team of the strongest warriors yet. This will decide the contest of champions. The gates opened. 3 opponents stepped forward. One was a massive warrior like Drakkar, muscles bulging under golden scales. The second was a telekinetic fighter, her mind sharp and her attacks unpredictable. The third was a swift, bird-like alien, wings extended, ready to strike with lightning speed. The crowd roared. No one had survived against all 3 at once. Even Jack's previous victories seemed small in comparison. Jack took a deep breath. He did not panic. He had studied patterns, weaknesses, and endurance in every fight. He would survive again. He stepped into the arena, keeping his focus on observation and timing. The first charge came from the massive warrior. Jack sidestepped, rolling across the arena floor. The crowd gasped at his agility. He waited for the telekinetic fighter to act. She sent waves of force toward him. He ducked and rolled under them. Each opponent attacked in sequence, expecting him to panic. Jack stayed calm. He moved unpredictably, never in the same way twice. He used the arena's features, loose rocks, walls, and pillars, to disrupt their attacks. The massive warrior stumbled slightly after crashing into a pillar. The bird-like fighter overshot a strike and scraped against the arena wall. The telekinetic's energy was uneven, forcing her to pause to recover. Minutes passed. Jack's body was screaming, but he stayed alert. He remembered Earth, harsh winters, famine, wars. Humans survived by noticing what others missed, by adapting and by enduring. This was no different. He acted with precision. He grabbed a loose metal shard and threw it strategically, forcing the bird-like fighter to change direction mid-flight, losing balance. The massive warrior charged again. Jack sidestepped and tripped him over a small ridge, forcing him to fall. The telekinetic sent a force wave, but Jack rolled under it and struck a minor joint in her armor, just enough to distract her. The crowd was stunned. No one had survived 3 opponents at once, let alone survived and countered them. Whispers of admiration spread through the stands. Humans were no longer weak. They were capable of endurance, intelligence, and adaptability unmatched in the arena. Cora watched silently. Her eyes narrowed, studying Jack. She had faced him before, and she respected him. Now, seeing him fight against 3 of the galaxy's strongest, she felt awe. He fought not with pride, not with rage, but with patience and persistence. He survived, adapting to every challenge. The 3 opponents regrouped. They were fast, powerful, and cunning, but Jack anticipated their moves. He dodged, countered, and used every ounce of strength left in his body. He moved like a shadow, unseen until it was too late. Finally, the massive warrior lunged for a decisive strike. Jack sidestepped, grabbed the momentum of the strike, and caused him to crash into the telekinetic fighter, sending both to the ground. The bird-like fighter tried to attack, but Jack anticipated her swoop and used a low roll to let her overshoot. She crashed lightly into a pillar, shaking her wings. The crowd erupted in disbelief. A human had not only survived against 3 of the strongest fighters at once, but he had outmaneuvered them. Cheers, shouts, and applause filled the arena. Even the council elders leaned forward, murmuring among themselves. No human had ever done this before. Cora stepped into the arena. She did not attack immediately. She raised her hand, signaling calm. The crowd quieted. She looked at Jack, exhaustion in her eyes, respect in her gaze. "Human Jack Miller," she said clearly, "you have endured more than any warrior I have faced. Strength is not only measured by power, speed, or skill. It is measured by will, persistence, and courage. You have shown all 3. Today you are a champion." Jack stood, breathing heavily, sweat running down his face, bruised and cut but alive. He nodded respectfully. "Thank you," he said simply. "I fought to survive and to show that humans endure, That is all. Cora extended her hand. Jack shook it firmly. The gesture was one of mutual respect. She had yielded not because she was weak, but because she recognized strength in a way she had not expected. Lily moved forward, checking Jack quickly. "You have done what no human has done before," she said softly. "The galaxy will remember this." Jack smiled faintly, feeling exhaustion mixed with satisfaction. He had not come for fame, not for glory. He had come to survive, to prove that humans could endure. He had done that and more. He had earned respect across species, even from the undefeated champion. The council elders announced Jack as the champion. The crowd erupted. Banners of all colors waved, cheers and roars filling the arena. Humans in the stands stood taller, proud. They had been seen, recognized, and respected. Cora stood beside Jack, now a friend as well as a rival. "You have changed the meaning of this contest," she said quietly. "Not just by surviving, but by showing what real strength is." Jack nodded. "Strength is endurance. Strength is adapting. Strength is never giving up." The crowd continued to cheer, some still in disbelief. The contest of champions had seen thousands of warriors over the centuries, but this human had redefined what it meant to fight, survive, and earn respect. Jack looked around the arena one last time. He thought of Earth, of the humans who had survived impossible odds. He thought of the battles, the pain, the challenges. He had endured them all. He had survived, and he had made the galaxy see humans in a new way. Cora placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are a true warrior," she said. "Not because you are the strongest, but because you fight with your mind, your heart, and your will. That is more powerful than any weapon here." Jack nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had fought for survival, and in doing so, he had shown the galaxy the true meaning of human strength. As the crowd cheered, Jack and Cora stood together in the center of the arena. He raised his hand in acknowledgement of the audience. The cheers were deafening, the applause endless. Humans were no longer weak in the eyes of the galaxy. They had endured, survived, and earned respect. The contest of champions had ended, but the legacy of Jack Miller, the human who survived against impossible odds, would be remembered across the stars. Humans would never be underestimated again. They had proven that endurance, intelligence, and courage could overcome even the greatest challenges. Jack took a deep breath, feeling exhaustion and pride at the same time. He had done what no one expected. He had survived, adapted, and earned respect. He had not only changed the contest, but he had changed the galaxy's view of humans forever. The arena lights dimmed as he walked off, the crowd still cheering, the champions watching, and the galaxy remembering. The human had entered the contest of champions, and he had surprised everyone, including the greatest alien warrior of them all. The legacy of humans had begun.